we just got an insane update regarding the upcoming Valve Index that is also known as the Valve Deckard VR headset, as well as some big VR news from both Meta and Sony. And on top of all that, we also had some massive VR game news that you don't want to miss. So let's dive right into it. Now the biggest news that we got are of course the brand new details that got leaked regarding the next VR headset from Valve. And while most likely this will be simply called the Valve Index 2, many users also know it by the codename of Deckard. But now, the very known data miner and leaker, who goes by the name of Gabe Follower, finally revealed some big details like its price, the estimated release date, and much more. Because in his post, he mentions that several people have confirmed that Valve is aiming to release this new standalone wireless VR headset that we all know as codename Deckard by the end of 2025. But maybe the most important part is that the current price for the full bundle is set for $1,200. But that is not even the most interesting thing he revealed, since he also mentions that the Deckard will be running on Steam OS as its operating system. And as most of you might know, this is the same thing that we have in the Steam Deck, but then we will have the Steam OS version that is specifically made for virtual reality, of course. However, this can actually be quite a big deal, since one of these core features will be to give you the ability to play flat screen games on a massive screen inside VR. But while all big leaks like these should be taken with a big grain of salt, we also shouldn't forget that Gabe Follower has a really accurate record that includes things like the Counter-Strike 2 announcements and even Valve's upcoming PC shooter known as Deadlock that he revealed. So we can be pretty sure that this information is as close as it gets. But we should also not forget the other big leaks that point towards this. Like for example the completely leaked models of the Valve Deckard's controllers that are codenamed as Roy. And these designs reveal that it has also things like an included D-pad that even more suggest that the Roy controllers can be used for flat screen gaming and have a similar input to that of the Steam Deck. And of course, besides this just being a standalone VR headset, it will also most likely have some PC VR streaming capabilities, just like we have on the Quest 3. And while it will still not be in the same price range, this could finally create some competition that we need for the Meta Quest headsets. However, Meta also had some big news themselves, because we now know that their annual Connect event will be held on September 17 in 2025. And for those who don't know, this is the moment where Mark Zuckerberg always reveals their next VR headsets as well as other hardware and software updates. Now Meta hasn't of course revealed any specific details on what they will announce, but most likely there will also be a big focus here on the Horizon OS and some new smart glasses that Meta has been working on for quite some time. Because next to its big focus on VR, Mark Zuckerberg did reveal their new research glasses named Area Gen 2, which even includes things like eye tracking to a heartbeat sensor and so much more. But we also had some sad news, and that is the silent remove of the Quest feature that all of you will know as Move. And this used to be basically a fitness tracker where you could see your progress while you were inside virtual reality. And most likely, while this was actually quite a nice feature to have, especially if you were using your headset for VR fitness, in the end, not enough people were actually using it on a daily basis that Meta made the choice to take it out completely. So that means that also your past Move data will completely be deleted, including all the data that you have synced into your Meta Horizon mobile app. However, luckily this won't affect any other fitness features that are already built into your VR games and apps. But it is still sad to see something like this go, especially since I made use of this myself quite a lot. But besides Meta, we also had some big news from Sony and their PlayStation VR 2 headsets. Because now, after multiple years, the PlayStation VR 2 finally is making use of their brand new hand tracking feature. And while at the moment there is only one game named Waltz of the Wizards that is making use of this can have a big impact on their first party games on their headset. And right from the start, the hand tracking itself is also quite decent when compared to the Quest 3 for example. While on the other side, the Quest 3's hand tracking is superior in accuracy as well as better handling when your hands are overlapping. But that is also because Meta has seen over 5 years in software updates to hand tracking itself, while the Sony PlayStation VR 2 just got this feature recently. So overall, I'm looking forward to see how they're gonna use this in the future. But that's not the only news we got from Sony, because they are also reducing the price of the PlayStation VR 2 by $150 permanently. And that means that while on launch, the headset would set you back $550. Right now, it would be sitting at $400, while including the Horizon Call of the Mountain game. However, besides all that, we also had some insane VR game news that you don't want to miss. But before we get into that, let's have a quick word from the company that made this video possible. Because none other than Cat VR, who are known to create VR treadmills that look like they come straight out of Ready Player One, are taking VR once again to the next level. Because while we normally are limited by the space and boundary system inside our virtual reality experiences, it is Cat VR that has been creating VR treadmills that let you run, crouch, and jump without any limitation. And since their most recent version, that is known as the C2 Core, is compatible with nearly every headset, it is often also considered as the dream upgrade for any VR setup. And they even go so far that for those hardcore fans, they also have high-end models that include things like haptic feedback or a vehicle hub, making it feel even more realistic, like riding on a horse inside VR. And as a cherry on top, you can also use the code VRelity for a $130 discount on your entire purchase. So for those who are interested, I'll leave a link in the description below. And that gets us to the VR game news. Starting it off with the popular multiplayer game known as Mannequin, that now became completely free to play. And in here, you will be either part of the two agents that are hunting down the shape-shifting aliens, or you could be part of the bad guys while you're trying to not get caught and hide among your surroundings. And the free-to-download version on Quest will feature pretty much the entire base game, with some upgrades like mod support or character skins being locked behind a paywall. However, the PC VR release will still remain a paid-for app despite the Quest version switching to this free-to-play download. So that's something to keep in mind. But another awesome free game that saw its release is none other than Orion Drift. And this one is actually from the creators of Gorilla Tech. But now with this new title, they took their ambitions to the absolute next level. Because in here, you will find yourself in a big space station that has different districts which each their own activities or games for you to play. And the most fleshed out one at the moment is probably the driftball zone that lets you use your arm swinging locomotion to move forward, while mixing it in with some zero gravity and Rocket League like feeling. Or you could basically see it as a simpler version of Gorilla Tag Soccer. But there are also many other districts, but these at the moment still need a lot of work or are still under construction. And that is because the game itself is also still in early access. So you might also run into some glitches here and there that will be fixed in the future. But that gets us to the next one, which is the big upcoming game known as Wanderer, the Fragments of Fate. Because this is an incredibly ambitious journey that looks so crisp in VR, since the developers have rebuilt it from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5. And the gameplay itself focuses on some escape room style puzzles, as you'll be exploring different time periods using your watch companion. And honestly, while the release of this one got some big delays in the past, I am more than happy to just wait a bit longer for it so that the studio can really brush up on all the things that need to be fixed before launch. Because in the end, I think that this one has a lot of potential. And besides on Quest, it will also be released for PlayStation VR 2 and Steam VR. But that's not all, because we also had even more crazy VR news. So click on the video that you see on screen right now to make sure you don't miss out. And of course, stay awesome.